Good Monday morning. Welcome to Break the Board Sports. I'm your host, RJ Cash. What an NFL Sunday it was. Up 15 units, 15-0 on the docket. Our teaser show, hope you checked that out. Every single teaser option we gave would have checked out. The only thing we had would have been the Chargers. But other than that, in 10 pointers, with the Bengals still pending tonight, we have 8-0. And then in the 7 pointers, we have, 8-1 on the weekend. So awesome, awesome, awesome. But our official place we gave out, breaktheboardsports.com, 15-0 going into tonight. The only thing we need to finish is a 10-point teaser. So we got the Bengals plus 17.5 in that one. Again, click that like, hit subscribe. Going to break down some Monday Night Football and plays to help you make some money. That's what we're all about here, helping you become a better handicapper, right? Yeah, we got picks on the site, $1.37 a day, yada, yada, yada. But this is more about giving you betting trends, betting angles, not a lot of my own personal opinion, actual statistical facts to help you become a better handicapper. So let's hop right into this one. Miami Dolphins hosting the New York Jets, Denver Broncos hosting Cincinnati Bengals. Not really a doubleheader. I don't really call it a doubleheader. Doubleheader, you have one start, and I don't know why they do this. They have 7 and 8 pretty much. They should start them 7 and 9, kind of stagger them a little more, but whatever. So the first game, Miami Dolphins laying 2.5, over under 45.5. Justin Fields will make his start for the New York Jets coming back off his injury. Right now, betting splits has the Miami Dolphins 54% of the bets going to the fish, 72% of the handle going to the fish, 28% of the handle going to the New York Jets, 46% of the bets going to the way of the New York Jets. Also, that over under 45.5, 59% of bets going to the under, 72% of the handle to the under, 41% of tickets going to the over, and 28% of the handle going to the over. So wild weekend in the NFL, though. I think just about every weekend is wild in the NFL. Favorites 7-5-1 straight up, but the dogs have the 7-6 ATS average. We'll see how tonight shakes out. This first game, very interesting when you talk about Miami and the Jets. Both teams obviously winless. And two teams, I didn't really have a lot of high expectations of the Jets, right? Figured no disrespect to Aaron Glenn. I like him a lot. But you're going from Salah to Aaron Glenn. You're not changing the culture. And the Jets still have refused to fix the quarterback position or draft a quarterback. So they're the same old Jets outside of like that Parcells point there in the late 90s. I think Herm Edwards had a good year. But basically the Jets are what they've been since I was born in the early 80s, and that is they suck, right? And they're not going anywhere, and the franchise is never going to get any better. I've just accepted that. At least they got the cool old uniforms, so kudos to them there. For the Miami Dolphins, a lot of firepower, a team that, over the past couple of years starts out and you're like, man, if they could just stay healthy. And that's been some of the case, but the other case is that defense has just been absolutely horrific. Mike McDaniel, I know he's a very bright and intelligent coach, but I'm not sure that he's got the grit to be an actual head coach. Again, being a really great coordinator, I always use North Turner as this, right? Really great coordinator, really crappy head coach. It's just what it is. Doesn't mean they're not a good coach. It's just to be a head coach is something very different. Look at Vic Fangio, phenomenal defensive coordinator, one of the best ones maybe of all time. Not a head coach, right? So different strokes for different folks. But to get into this, we talk about that under, and there's a lot of love for the under. But the Jets have been scoring some points. They had the outburst there versus Pittsburgh. They've been able to put points on the board, and they got weapons, right? Breece Hall, Cedric Wilson. They've gone over the total 8 of their last 10 games. So the fact the Jets have went over that total 8 of the last 10, we think of Miami more of an over team. Be very careful with all that money coming in on the under because obviously, again, Jets, you think of them as an under team. You think of them as a defensive team. You think Aaron Glenn as a defensive coach. But 8 of the last 10 for the Jets have went over the total. They're absolutely horrific straight up, 1-5 straight up the last 6 games. Now, against the Miami Dolphins, House of Horrors, there for them. Tua is 5-0 straight up and 3-2 against the spread as a starter against the Jets. Jets 4-10 ATS their last 14 games against the Fish, and they're only 2-8 straight up their last 10. Jets have not been good on the road. 1-7 straight up their last 8 on the road. 0-9. They've lost 9 straight to Miami at Hard Rock. Have the Jets, so some really brutal numbers there. Again, we talked about that over cashing 8 of the last 10 for the Jets. They've also cashed the over 6 of the last 7 versus their AFC foes, and 5 of the last 6 have went over versus their foes within the division. So again, just be very careful on that under. I'm not saying I'm playing the over. I just think it's something you really need to look at and swallow correctly because obviously a lot of people just think this game's going under. And just be careful on that one. Dolphins 3-6 against the spread their last 9. They're just 1-5 straight up their last 5 games. Again, Miami, 4 of their last 6 have went over the total. They've gone over the total head to head. Dolphins and Jets, 5 of the last 7. And Miami has cashed the over 7 straight at home. Look, I told you I'm not trying to sell the over, but I think I'm going to sell myself, to be quite honest with you. Miami 9-0 straight up their last 9 versus the Jets. We talked about that. And then kind of a wonky stat, just a kind of a funny one, but not a trend that really helps you. Miami 0-10 against the spread their last 10 games when they have played in week 4. So kind of a wild one there. Digging in a little deeper here for the Jets and the Dolphins. We talked about Jets have lost 9 straight to Miami in Miami. So last year's 2 matchups, there was an overtime game in Miami, 32-26. Miami did win that game, but it took till overtime. And then in New York, the Jets were able to get the win 32-20. So did play them pretty tough there in the game in Miami. So even though there's a loss, not all losses are created equal. And not all covers are created equal, obviously. When I look at the game, obviously Miami's thing is going to be, can they get the ball down the field, right? I think that's the most important thing for them. Can they expose and get themselves in a position where they can get it to the Tyreek Hills and those guys that can actually do some damage for them on the outside, Jalen Waddle, right? So those are things when you look at Miami, you look at and you say, okay, can they push the ball down the field? That's going to be their hardest thing to do. Obviously, Johnson, the linebacker for the Jets, he is out. Reynolds, the wide receiver, is out. So a couple different injuries going on here for the New York Jets. We talked about the betting splits and whatnot. Jets are only averaging 166 passing yards per game. Offensively as a team, 271.7 yards per game for the Jets offense. Dolphins tick better, not groundbreaking, 281 yards. Defensively, the Jets are giving up 340 yards a game. Miami giving up about 370 yards per game on this one. So a couple different things we got going on with this. Obviously, the first one's going to be we're going to take the Miami Dolphins on the money line tonight, minus $1.50. I really like the way they played against the Buffalo Bills. Showed some heart, showed some grit. They got extended rest. Justin Fields coming back off the injury. I just think it's a good spot for Miami, the fact they're at home. Now, the fact they've won 9 straight, I always feel like the guy, all right, I'm betting against the trend that's going to end up biting me here. So that does worry me a little bit. But I'm going to ride with the Dolphins here, money line, minus $1.50. Now, we talked about we had the 10-point teaser for the Bengals, plus 17.5, holding on to finish off the weekend. That would put it, that's a double unit play with that 3-team 10-pointer we did. So that would put us up 17 units for the NFL weekend going into this Miami game. But I also want to throw out another 10-point teaser because as I'm looking up the board, I'm just seeing increasing value here. And especially as we walked through and talked about that Jets game, and we walked through and we talked about the over-under on that. Again, a lot of money, and the bet swayed towards the under. So we're going to go 10-point teaser on this one. Again, we're going to take the Jets-Dolphins. We're going to tease that 10-point. Again, Most of your 10-pointers are around $1.30. Some of them might charge you $1.40. I know people are really anti-juice, and yes, units is what matters. But if you're picking winners, units kind of take care of themselves, right? And plus, you're getting a huge advantage. I know people are like, oh, play 6-pointers because it's less juice. No, I want the 7-point. I want the touchdown with the extra point. That's what I want. I've seen too many block kicks, block field goals this year. I want the 7. I'll pay the extra 10, 15 cents juice for it. But for argument's sake, we're going to go 10-point teaser here. I'm going to have the Jets plus 12.5. I'm going to take that over under. I'm going to take the over 35.5. And I'm also going to throw in Thursday night's football game. It's up to 3.5. I'm going to take the 49ers plus 13.5. So we're going to have a 3-team 10-pointer. Again, huge success on our teaser legs this week. We were undefeated so far going into this Cincinnati game. They just got to cover the 17.5 with all the legs we gave out. Again, check out that teaser show. It'll be out on Thursday. Jets plus 12.5. Jets Dolphins over 35.5. And the 49ers plus 13.5 minus $1.30. Let's go ahead and book that in. Again, Break the Board Sports. Click that like, hit subscribe. We're also going to have the Dolphins on the money line. Let's shift to the second game of the quote-unquote doubleheader, but not really a doubleheader. We're going to go Cincinnati Bengals at the Denver Broncos. This one is at 7.5, over under 44.5. Now, 65% of bets and 69% of the handle are on the Broncos. Broncos have had a very difficult year, definitely seeing the slump from Bo Nix a little bit. Offense has just not really been what it was last year. And then there's points where they move the ball and it just stalls out. Now, the thing about the Broncos is their defense has been just really, really good. The Bengals, they're a mess. Joe Burrow's out for the year. Jake Browning, one of the better backups in the NFL. But again, just an absolute mess Cincinnati's been. You got to wonder, is this season going to cause Zach Taylor to lose his job? But Broncos, 65% of the bets and 69% of the handle is trending their way. For the Bengals, 35% of the bets and 31% of the handle is going their way. Now, the money on the over-under is split 50-50. Bets, not that much difference, 54% to the under, 46% are going to the over there. So not, a huge discrepancy as far as that is concerned. When you dive into some trends here, and again, that's what we're about here, Break the Board Sports, I'll always give our sides, our leans, our opinions. You can go sign up for every play across every sport, hockey, NBA coming up, MLB playoffs, every play, every sport for $1.37 a day for the calendar year, or you can go $64.99 a month. But hey, who wants to do that when you can get $1.37 a day? But with that being said, we're not really concerned about that as much as we are giving you trends, giving you analysis, telling you things that you look at so you can handicap your own games. I don't think there's anything more important than somebody being able to handicap their own games. It is a skill to it. It does take time, but I think anybody can be taught and anybody can learn how to do it, right? So Cincinnati, they've cashed the over 9 of the last 13 games. Obviously, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and company, they got some weapons out there. Cincinnati 7-1 straight up their last 8. They're 5-2 against the spread the last 7 meetings with Denver, but straight up, it's been a completely different story. 6-14 straight up over the last 20 meetings with the Denver Broncos. Bengals are 4-1 straight up the last 5 on the road, that one being the absolute drumming at the hands of the Minnesota Vikings last week. They're also 5-0 ATS when playing in Mile High. So Cincinnati 5-0 ATS when playing at Mile High. Pretty crazy stat there. The Broncos, we talked about a lot of high expectations. I thought at best they were a wild card team. I know a lot of people were talking about division and Super Bowl, and I just thought that was crazy town. Now 1-6 ATS their last 7, 2-5 straight up. Definitely showing a lot of chinks in the armor, but they are 6-0 straight up their last 6 home games. Again, we talked about it. They're 0-5 the last 5 times against Cincinnati as far as covers go. But another thing, Denver 2-9 straight up the last 11 games where they've had to face an AFC North opponent. So that definitely gives you some cause for concern there. This is Bo Nix's 4th start in primetime. He's 2-1 both straight up and ATS. As far as his primetime games, the Broncos are averaging 33.7 points per game. However, since 2017, the Broncos 4-8 straight up and 3-8-1 ATS when they play in night games. So again, got to be really careful there. And Zach Taylor coached 3 games without Joe Burrow in night games. So 3 night games for the Bengals under Zach Taylor without Joe Burrow. They've been underdog in all of them. All 3 they've been an underdog, but 2 of them they've won outright. So kind of a sneaky thing here. Again, also makes me feel really, really good about the Cincinnati Bengals plus 17.5 we got in the teaser. Here's another one that's pretty interesting. Teams who lost by 28 or more points, and then they're an underdog by 4 or more points their very next game, 119, 76, and 3. So a lot of data. 61%. Again, I can see the love for Denver, and I can see why Denver's getting the love, absolutely. But again, I would just caution here, throw a lot of caution to it, because Bengals got embarrassed. You would think they would come back and avenge that loss, at least try to look better. Last year, these 2 teams hooked up in December. The Bengals won that game 30-24 in overtime. But again, that was in Cincinnati. Offensively, Cincinnati averaging about 220 points per game. Second to worst in the league for the Bengals. Concern there. Broncos, they're not a ton better. They're ranked 21st in the NFL, 302 yards per game. Defensively, Denver ranks 18th, 327 yards a game they give up. Cincinnati ranked 25th, 359 yards given up there. So a lot of yards given up as far as that goes. When you look at the points per game, Denver 19th in the league, averaging 22.7 points per game. Cincinnati 23rd, averaging 19.3 points per game. Denver's defense ranked 13th in the NFL, 21.3 points per game. When you look at Cincinnati, and theirs averaging 30.3, 28th in the league. So really bad defensively, really bad offensively for the Bengals. Not a whole lot to write home about. Again, Denver laying 7.5, over under 44.5. So look, we already have the Bengals plus 17.5 pending from our plays that we gave out on last week's show. But I'm going to add 2 more plays. Again, we have Jets. We have a 3-team 10-point teaser. We've hit all of our teaser legs so far this week. Jets plus 12.5, Jets over 35.5, and the 49ers this coming Thursday plus 13.5. We're going to do that 3-team 10-point teaser minus $1.30. We're also going to throw in the Dolphins money line. We talked about that, minus $1.50. We're also going to throw out 2 more 7-point teasers. We're going to go Bengals plus 14.5 with San Francisco plus 10.5 on Thursday. Again, that San Francisco line was 3. You can get now 3.5 at FanDuel. So a 2-team 7-pointer. I know it costs you, $1.40 to $1.50, yada, yada, yada. You're getting the 49ers plus 10.5 in a rivalry game. You're getting the Bengals over 2 touchdowns. That 14 and a hook, extremely important. And then we're going to tease it the other way. Broncos pick with the 49ers plus 10.5. So a lot of 49ers love for us here this coming week. So we're going to add those 2 plays. Again, breaktheboardsports.com. Click that like, hit subscribe. We're here each and every day, 2 to 3 shorts giving you different trends and whatnot. Also, a little bonus to throw out there, 2 soccer games today. Speaking of football, Everton money line and Valencia money line. Everton's around $1.55. Valencia is around $1.40. Maybe you take one of them, Valencia, and parlay it with Miami, get you a little plus money action there. Again, I'm your host, RJ Cash. Go to breaktheboardsports.com. Click that like, hit subscribe. God bless and happy handicapping.